There's a lot of builds in Destiny, but I find myself coming back to the same handful over and over again. Some builds are fun to play around with for a while others are so fun and strong that I can't help but return to them time and time again. Today I'll be talking about one of my favorite Warlock builds, one that has gotten even better since the launch of Final Shape, and one that I just can't peel myself away from. Let's not waste any time and just jump right in. The exotic being used here is Dawn Chorus, an exotic helmet that increases damage dealt from Scorch, gives melee energy every time Scorch ticks, and boosts the damage and burning ability of Daybreak. 3 really strong effects wrapped up into one killer exotic. First part of this exotic, the increased Scorch damage, is my favorite part. Item Manager here says that increases Scorch damage by 200%. Important to note the wording here, increased by 200%. Meaning that your Scorch damage is tripled. It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. It's also important to note that this has no effect on ignitions. To get the most out of this exotic, you'll want to leave enemies burning. This will also give melee energy. It's not a lot per instance of Scorch, but spread the Scorch to a handful of enemies and your melee will be back in no time. Now, before we got Song of Flame, I was actually in love with the final part of this exotic, the increase to Daybreak damage. It's nearly double damage, plus the Scorch and ignitions it creates. It's really, really strong, and it really shouldn't be slept on. That being said, Song of Flame is still the better choice, I think. It just has so many applications, and oftentimes I'll use Song of Flame just to get the damage resist it gives. If we see any changes to Song of Flame or I get tired of using it, I'll definitely go back to Daybreak with this build, but as it stands, Song of Flame feels like the right choice. So, onto the subclass. I used to run Heat Rises and Icarus Dash, but with the new aspect Hellion, it's just too good with this build. So Hellion and Heat Rises. Icarus Dash will be missed, but also not really. The main fragments are Singeing, Searing, Ashes, and the last one you can kind of just pick whatever you want. I really like Benevolence and Torches, but I've tried a lot of different fragments and they're all good. Right now I have on Mercy for the extra resilience and restoration, but you do you. Of course, we spoke of Song of Flame earlier, so I have that on, along with Phoenix Dive, Snap, and a Healing Grenade. I really just prefer the instant heal from Phoenix Dive over the Rift. The Snap is just amazing. I mean, come on, this thing is seriously one of the most satisfying abilities in the game. Then the Healing Grenade is just handy to have. I don't really find myself in need of a damage grenade with this setup, so the extra healing to myself and teammates is helpful enough. Also, another reason why Benevolence is really good. Then it's just a matter of picking your favorite solar weapon with Incandescent. The mods, whatever, the mods don't really make a huge difference. Loader, Siphon, Special Finisher, that's all there is to it really. Okay, so you've got that all set up, so what's the playstyle? Well, this build is honestly one of the best builds in the game, in my opinion. The object is to apply Scorch, which there are numerous ways to do so. Hellion is the newest part of this build, and this thing, which I've named Chuck, will chuck molten lava balls at the enemy, which scorch on impact. Absolutely perfect. Love it. Chuck takes 3 shots to ignite, which, yeah, you may not always want to do. The bonus damage to Scorch is really insane. Apply a bunch of Scorch to something and then just let it burn. You obviously don't have to ignore the enemy specifically to let it burn, but if you're dealing with smaller enemies, just Scorch them and move on. You'll be surprised with how many kills you'll get from the Scorch damage. Then the other fragment, Heat Rises, will allow you to fire while you're in the air, as well as gaining melee energy from each takedown while you're airborne. This is really where everything comes together. Scorch is giving melee, one of the fragments is giving melee, and Scorch is giving class ability. With this build, you don't even really need a primary weapon. Chuck and your melees will take care of most everything. Adding the on-demand Scorch with Hellion took this build to the next level. As I said, I used to run Icarus Dash and Heat Rises, really focused on the melee portion of the kit. Now though, Hellion is able to apply Scorch for free. No kills, no prerequisites, just use your class ability and let Chuck do his thing. He can be a bit inaccurate at times, but playing in the air helps a bunch. He may not be able to land a direct hit, but if he has the height advantage, he can at least hit near them, which still applies the Scorch we need. Every single part of this loadout works together to create an extremely powerful build that gets amplified with kills, but doesn't require them. You'll be surprised just the simple combo of Hellion and Singeing. Hellion Scorches, which causes singeing to give class ability, which in turn gets another Hellion ready, and so on. Then you add the melee components to the mix and you're spamming abilities like crazy. The snap is such a great way to apply Scorch to groups. Jump above the opposition, rain a snap down, and let the Scorch do the work. Or even don't, and just let the Scorch help out by weakening enemies for you to plink away at. If you have not tried a build like this, do it. Dawn Chorus is such an incredible exotic that really mixes up how you play Solar. Applying Scorch but not going for an ignition, it's really fun, it's amazing, and it works in any activity from the easiest story missions to the hardest Grandmasters. If you have a twist with this exotic or build, let me know. Until next time.